Well, hey guys, it's Matt with 42 Pros, and today's video is all about the 100 to 400 G Master from Sony. Now, if you're new to the channel, I use a lot of Sony cameras. Specifically, I use the 6400s and the A7 IIIs for about everything that I do. And yeah, so that's the reason why I use this for this specific trip. Now, we're out here in New Mexico filming some elk hunts for a film project that me and a few friends are working on. Let's just get into what I think about this specific lens, okay? So if you have never looked at a G Master lens before, you'll know that it's a solid lens just by picking it up and feeling it. And this is no different. If you've ever held the 70 to 200 2.8, you'll have the same type of feel and weight capabilities, but you can see there's multiple custom buttons on this specific lens, so you can use it for whatever, you know, whether it's switching from manual to autofocus, which that's what I used it for, and it still has the AF, MF switch here. I usually kept it in the 3 meter to infinity, just so it could focus a little bit faster, but the spot focusing feature on the A7 III worked tremendously well out there in the wild with this lens. It's just like any other lens, you know, Sony lens, really and truly. But all in all, very good lens to use for long range. Now, being that the focal length is 100 to 400, you will probably need to have a secondary camera with a little bit wider angle lens attached to it, just so you can get some of those up close, tight, wide shots. If this is the only lens that you can use, or if you only have one camera, it's probably not going to do everything you need it to do just because of the focal range. Now, if you remember a few weeks, maybe a few months back, I did a video on crop factors, and you can watch that one right up here. Just click on the cards and you'll understand one of the reasons why I like this lens, because it gives you a little bit of flexibility at the telephoto, okay? The 100 and 400 is what it actually is on the full frame camera, but with the A7 IIIs and the A7s and A9s, the full frame cameras, you can go into Super 35 mode, which will give you a 1.5 crop factor. Turns this into a 600. Now, there is you know, a little bit of I guess some downfalls to that, because you do go in that crop mode, which you may find a little more aliasing and moire depending on what you're using it for. But out here in the wild, I could not tell a difference, and I've looked at the footage and it looks very, very good. So kudos to Sony once again for creating a fantastic lens. But not only that, with the A7 series, you can also activate the clear image zoom, which will give you an additional 1.5 zoom in 4K. And if you're shooting in HD up to the 60 frames, but not 120, you can get an additional 2 times crop. And what I have found with that, though, is it does get a little brittle on the image quality, you know, like it's over sharpened or something, when you do max it out. But if you're filming in 4K and you max this out in Super 35 mode, then you add the 1.5, it's still really, really sharp with this lens. Now, and as you can see, the compression on this thing is ridiculous. I mean, there's a couple of shots that I was able to get where I was 40, 50 yards back, and I was able to really pull in that background and bring it in nice and tight, and it has that really nice, smooth bouquet, so you get good separation with your subject that you're trying to stay in focus. But again, really impressed with this lens. I wish Sony would have done a 70 to 400 like they did with the A mount, just to give you that extra little bit of flexibility on the middle range of the focal length, just so you can use it a little more with the handheld and you know, just some interaction type scenes and shots and stuff. But again, all in all, solid lens, okay? Now, the downfall to using a lens like this and having to mount it to your tripod by using your foot here from the collar is high winds will give you a lot of vibration, which also means shaky footage. But in most cases, you can probably Add some stabilization to it in your software, and it'll clean up very well, and it'll look like a handheld shot. But again, that's kind of a negative there, since you do have this little thin section of a foot on this collar. It kind of leaves itself open to vibration on the long end of this lens. But just to wrap it up, again, it's just a solid lens. It's not too heavy, not too long. I mean, it does zoom out, and the extension part does play a factor, because it does have a click ring here for smooth and tight. I wish it had a lock, because as you bounce and you're going down the road and you're hiking, as you can see, it does have a little bit of creep. So if it had a lock, then you wouldn't have to worry about it creeping like this. And if you got it over your shoulder, it won't bang on your pack and cause issues there, okay? As you see from all the footage that I've been showing you, great lens. The compression is awesome. The autofocus is super fast. For the size, you get a lot out of this lens without having to pack in a big tank turret, you know, like say a Sigma 60 to 600, or I think Tamron's 150 to 600. Pretty tight, compact setup that you can have that can really reach out there. So if you're out there filming mule deer hunts in the hills, you know, some sheep hunts, elk hunts, obviously, this is a great lens to use if you're using the A7 series or the A9s within the Sony system. So, all right, guys, well, that'll pretty much do it for the first initial review of the Sony 100 to 400. But again, great lens. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below, and we'll definitely get to them as fast as we can, because the seasons are here. A lot of people are out there in the hills and the Rocky Mountains and the plains and all that fun stuff, just getting their adventure on, so to speak. And that's definitely what we did this week. And if you hadn't followed us on Instagram or Facebook, you definitely need to check the links in the description below and do that, because that's where we typically post a lot of our pictures from all of our trips. And we try to post a handful of times a day, whether it's stories or actual blog posts, or you know, just photos and updates on what's going on. That's where we usually do it. So anyways, guys, till next time, get the gear that's right for you, because only you can do your projects. And since you only have one chance to get it right, why not do it right and just do it once? Till next time, guys, we'll see you in the next video.